We have Dr. Eyitayo Folorunsho. He's a seasoned media consultant from the University of Ibadan. And we also have with us is Shola Afolahan. He's
Shola wouldn't be joining
us. Oh, we've just been informed. But also joining us here in the studio is one of our very own, the team lead for our digital desks, none other than Abdul Latif Ahmed, and he joins us live in the studio. Abdul Latif, I know I've mixed your designation, but I know you're a lead of the desk. Research. There we go. Digital research desk. It was research that was not there. But thank you so much for coming on. And also, it's always fun having to have conversations with you. I'm really glad you are joining us in this discussion. Unfortunately, it's on a very sad note, as we have now lost. The number is now in the tens of Nigerians, and in 3 different states in the north, in the south, and southeast, and it's harrowing to think of families who will be mourning instead of celebrating at such a time, which is the Yuletide season. Let me first of all get your reaction to just looking at those videos on social media and all that's unfolded in the last couple of days.
First, I would say that I really feel sad about the incident of the needless loss of lives. Ibadan, Abuja, Anambra, because things are hard at the moment, hard enough than for us to begin to lose lives, for things that are avoidable, So what I'm seeing from this pattern is that the value of life amongst Nigerians, is on the low, because if we value our lives, we will do a lot of thinking. We once lost the lives of so many people in the Squan Church. What's the name of the TB Joshua church?
Synagogue.
I can say that there was no penalty for the needless loss of lives. And so we have made it a part of ourselves that people can actually die in crowded places and nothing will happen. But it is supposed to be punishable, that you would have people in a crowded place and you don't manage them well, you'll be responsible for anything that happens to them. So you are talking oxygen level depletion, for example. Not everybody has the same state of mind. Some are asthmatic, some have troubled health, some are not
underlying health
medical conditions. So you must ensure that the place is aerated, be it churches, be it halls, whatever it is. We are talking about emergency exits. You're talking about the number of exit doors and windows that are available there. Sometimes it's even problematic that people bring structures from outside Nigeria, structures that are meant for cold regions, and they graft it in Nigeria, and you have Nigerians morphing into such structures and assuming that it is safe for them to stay in. You have structures that don't have ramps for physically disabled people. So it is problematic that we have a culture of just allowing things to happen, and when it happens, there's no penalty. We leave it in the hands of God. We blame the devil. It's troubling.
Dr. Folorunsho, are you with us? Are you back on there? We still haven't had him. Let me come to you, Abdul Latif, and also talk about the recurring theme in all of this accidents and all of this tragedy that we've seen, and that is charity, distribution of arms, of toys, and food drive, palliative. It takes me back to 2020, and Jos, to be precise, when what I saw was so dystopian. That video would never leave my brain.
The one from the
one where they were crawling in from the roof
of the warehouse.
Of the warehouse, and people were crawling pyramids of food. It felt like a scene from World War Z. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that and juxtapose it with the rising cost of living crisis that we're seeing.
So there's another, the angle about the rising cost of living. People want to do charity. You have to be happy for people who are willing to get out of, whatever it is they have, for the needy and all of that. But you cannot, in the name of charity, not understand that you will expect a certain crowd. The one that happened in Abuja happened around 6:30. Why do we have to do it that early? Have you mobilized enough people for crowd control? The police is saying they must be informed about such activities. But again, if you're expecting a certain number of people, you should make arrangements to be able to hold them, because it can happen anywhere. But you must know what capacity. If you say you want to accommodate 400 people, you should accommodate only 400 people. you shouldn't allow more than that number to come close to the place, because even while you are distributing within the hall, people can die outside the hall where you don't have any jurisdiction over. You are trying to share stuff within the hall. So you must be able to run a kind of crowd control that will ensure that too many people will not crowd themselves in a place where oxygen will be depleted, enough for people to slump or faint or whatever. So, the one in Ibadan, for example, a woman with a baby on her back, she lost the child. The child was was less than 9 months old. Why are you risking the life of a child in a place like that? So yes, there's hunger in the land, that people need palliatives, whatever it is, but it is not an excuse. It's not enough reason for you to allow people to go to crowded places without controlling them.
Latif, I liked the way you started, when you started by saying that there has been no penalties from any of these instances that have happened from the past.
Yeah.
It would seem very, very unfair to actually penalize a person who's trying to help another person or a group of people, especially at a time like this. We're still going to come back and talk about the actual effect or actual cause, which is the economy. However, penalties for who? The Ooni's ex-wife is also involved and has been arrested, if I'm not mistaken. I've been corrected as Ooni. The Ooni's ex-wife was also arrested. What kind of penalties, what laws do we have that actually are in place to guide these kinds of processes when people inadvertently, I think it's called manslaughter in any case, if I'm not mistaken, when it's not intentional. So are there any cases from before that we can fall back on? Should there be any policies that would change these kinds of eventualities if they are to happen? And if anybody has this kind of a big heart to want to help, where do they go through? What authorities must they go through to be able to set a template for them to say, this is what you must do, and then we get to talk about health and safety. I know it's a very disarticulated question, but I'm sure you can handle it.
So there's a legal angle to it. I'm not sure what component of our law gives certain regulations, but because we are evolved animals, more sound in the mind, we should be able to say, if this happens, this will happen. You don't want to be the conveyor of negativities, of bad news. So one, you should know the capacity. I mean, let me start from the basics. If you have a security officer who manages a certain facility, I want to know, is he enlightened enough to know what the capacity of that facility is? If he doesn't know, it means that 1,000 people can cram into a 300 building capacity building, and he will not be bothered because he doesn't have the understanding that it will be overcrowded. So something as basic as that, are you hiring security agents that do not know these basic things? One. Two, when you announce stuff like that, knowing the present condition of the country, you should anticipate that these things will blow beyond your capacity. So yes, you're trying to do good, but you should not be seen to attempt to do good and then it results into things like one life is too expensive than for us to keep hearing these numbers. It's traumatizing that in a season that people feel that you're gifting, you're sharing, you're loving, people are announcing obituaries. So it's troubling.
I'll let you complete. I'll let you finish that. But we're told that we have Dr. Folorunsho, Eyitayo, with us already. Dr. Folorunsho, are you here? Can we at least establish that we have you with us? There.
Thank you. I'm here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Grant. Now, you are stationed or based in Ibadan, where the first instance happened. I'd like you to give us a sense of exactly what it felt like, or what people have been telling the temperature of Ibadan at a time like this, where people are supposed to be enjoying the season. Instead, now they're mourning. What is it like in Ibadan currently?
Well, once again, I'd like to say that it's been very gloomy in Ibadan right now, because a lot of lives were lost in that incident, which happened on the 18th of this month. That was on Wednesday. Actually, I was there when Naomi had an interview at a popular radio station in Ibadan, and people were really looking up to that particular event. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a very devastating, tragic incident. The situation right now is that people are angry, people are not happy, and a lot of parents are traumatized. Some of them are even threatening to burn down hospitals where they're keeping their children, dead children, corpses. That's because of the parental trauma which is being now experienced. But then the government of the state is doing everything possible to douse the tension, by giving out media charts, on this particular one. Then the police also is doing everything possible to maintain law and order so that no one would take a negative advantage of this particular event. So that is just the situation in Ibadan right now. It's very gloomy and the atmosphere is very tensed.
Dr. Folorunsho, you also you just talked about the fact that people, parents especially, are threatening to burn down facilities. We also hear that there was a media house that was involved in all of this mess. We heard that perhaps maybe one or two of the individuals from this media house were manhandled by a group of people, perhaps maybe at the event or after. Can you give us any clarification on that?
Yes, as regards the corpses of the children, 5 different hospitals were assigned, basically where people could take their wounded children to at that point. I wouldn't want to mention them now, but I wouldn't want to mention their names now. But then, for the sake of identity misplacement, the police and your state government gave the instruction that proper investigation and identity mapping should be conducted so that, they wouldn't be given different corpses, to different parents and so like that. So some of the hospitals were trying to follow up, while some did not really have the facility to keep the dead children of the corpses. So you could understand the trauma of parents, really, and one could understand if they were angry, really, to have their children, So that is just in that area. It's just to curtail identity misplacement so that different parents will not be going on with different children. And, it was a kind of a crisis. So nobody could really understand what was really what. Then you asked the second question, right?
Yes, regarding the involvement of a media house and its owner that has gone out of hand, where it has resulted in 1 or 2 people being manhandled by
the staff of the radio station being manhandled by aggrieved members of those who were victims in this stampede.
Yes, the event was supposed to start later in the day, I think around 10 a.m. or thereabouts, but the information we gathered was that some people even slept over in that venue, which was Islamic high school in Basharon. Some parents slept over there. So as early as 5 a.m., the place was already filled up. As a lot of people were trying to, because when I woke up that same morning, I could see a lot of taxis, people were rushing. So I was just wondering what was actually going on. But then eventually, we could understand that they were heading for Basharon to attend that. The organizers actually promised 5,000 naira to each child, and they were actually expecting like 5,000 children. But we could understand that before 4 a.m. on that fateful day, the whole place was filled up already. Parents, adults, even adults were not really invited, but adults were present. And by 5 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., the radio station in question now had deployed media sensitizations, telling people that they should not go to that place again because the place was filled up and all that. But our people, nobody was listening to such an advice again. So everybody was heading towards that place. I had a particular person very close to me who went with 2 children, and she said that by the time she got there around 6 a.m., the whole place was already filled up, and people were struggling, to get into the compound of that particular school. So the part of the organizers from that radio station came around, really. But then with the Stampede, with the Stampede, they couldn't do much, because at the point they had to fling the gate of the school open so that people could come in. And that was where the Stampede started from, as people were rushing in. And, at the point they said they were going to cancel the whole event. But I want us to realize that this event was, Ibadan edition was not the first. Because I still remember this was conducted in Ondo State, in Ogun State. The Ondo State edition was last year at Ileoluji. But then maybe it was well organized. But this one, okay, let me give you an example from how the whole thing would be. That particular radio station is a popular radio station in Ibadan. And its audience as the masses, the market women, not really the elites as such, but then, and we have majority of the people in this category. So some of their representatives were really manhandled. I have to attest to that. In fact, some of them were beaten by angry parents.
Okay.
Yes, they were beaten, and they were beaten with their teeth and all those things. They were attacked, really.
That's very, very poor.
Dr. Folorunsho, I've raised this conversation with you, Ms. and I was saying that, that oftentimes when you're a volunteer at an event like that, you are stuck between, the deep blue sea or the devil, which is how many persons can I turn back, and my aim here is to help people. And there are people who would come to you with the most harrowing, sad, depressing story, and you have to pick and choose who to help. And time again, these are the situations that one finds himself. If they had shut down, like you said, they were stuck between opening the gate to help everybody, because how do you turn back that entire crowd that are there? So it's completely hard, and our heart goes out to the families of those who lost the 35 children. I'm wearing black. Mizuno has a touch of black, as well as Abdul Latif. From here in the studio here at News Central Television, our heart goes out to the victims, and also to the organizers and everyone here. It came from a good place, and it just melted into tragedy. Dr. Folorunsho, I must say thank you so much for taking out the time today to discuss with us. Abdul Latif, as always, you are sublime. Thank you for your insight as well.